Make me not want that cookie now.
Welcome to the Tuesday, November 17th, 2015 meeting of the Hot Springs Board of Directors. Tonight, our invocation will be led by Pastor Corey Cangalosi and to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand with me?
Let's pray. Father, thank you for tonight. Thank you for loving us. Lord, I want to just publicly apologize for taking for granted all the good things that you've given us, the freedoms, the safety, the ability to meet and gather freely. It's easy to take those for granted, God, and I would hate to wake up tomorrow with only the things I was thankful for today. So I thank you for those things. I thank you for this board of directors, for our mayor, for all the city officials here, Lord, for these citizens of our city, this county. God, I thank you for the interest that everyone in this room has for the good of our city and the people in this city. And Lord, I ask that tonight you would give us the grace as a community to do what you've called us to do, what you've appointed these men and women to do, and that which is good and right and pleasing in your sight. And Lord, would you allow us wisdom and an insight into every decision that's made tonight to the glory of the giver of every good gift. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hereby call this meeting to order. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Ramick.
Here.
Foley.
Here.
Carney.
Here. We are all here. Thank you so much. The first item of business is to consider the approval of the agenda. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda, including items, if any, to be removed from the consent agenda? Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move that we move item 16, that is the consider condemnation resolutions, to the end of the agenda.
Okay. There is a motion to move item number 16, all of the condemnations, to the end of the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other amendments or modifications? Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as modified. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
It's adopted.
It is adopted. The next item of business is to consider approval of the minutes of the board meeting, which was held on November the 3rd, 2015.
I move for approval of the minutes.
Okay, is there a second? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please indicate by saying no. The motion is adopted. In the effort to afford everyone an equal and orderly opportunity to address the items on tonight's agenda, I want to remind our citizens and our guests that we adhere to a 3-minute limit for your comments. And for your convenience, we will display a clock timer in the monitor overhead, and there will be a beeper, right? We have the beeper tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. While members of the board have questions of the speakers, I ask that any general comments be reserved for the board discussion after all the speakers have been heard. And as a reminder, we would please ask everyone to, when they approach, to speak into their microphone so that everyone can hear the ones who are listening in our TV land watching the reality show that goes on every Tuesday night. So please talk into the microphone. We also ask that your cell phones be silenced during the meeting, and please refrain from any disruptions of the meeting. Should you need to leave prior to the conclusion of the meeting, if your item has been taken care of, we ask that you do so quietly so that we can continue with the business of our city. And I would like to just recognize Drew Terry. I think she has left gifts for every one of us up here, a little thank you package. And Drew attends every meeting. I don't think you've missed one in 20 years. You've been here every one of them. Thank you so much. She keeps us going, and she invites the different guests who pray for us at the beginning of the meeting. And thank you for all your loyalty to our group. We thank you for that. Thank you. At this time, we have a proclamation for Thanksgiving Day. And we have two proclamations.
For who, man?
A proclamation for Thanksgiving. Following a resolution of Congress, President George Washington proclaimed Thursday, the 26th of November, 1789, a day of public thanksgiving and prayer, devoted to the service of that great and glorious being who is the beneficent author of all the good that was, that is, and that will be. Reflecting American religious practice, presidents and Congress from the beginning of the Republic have been from time to time designated days of fasting and thanksgiving. The Thanksgiving holiday we continue to celebrate on the third Thursday of November was established by Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. In setting aside a day for Thanksgiving, Washington established a non-sectarian tone for those devotions and stressed political, moral, and intellectual blessings that make self-government possible. In addition to personal and national repentance, although the First Amendment prevents Congress from establishing a religion or prohibiting its free exercise, presidents as well as Congress have always recognized the American regard for sacred practices and belief. Thus, throughout American history, presidents have offered non-sectarian prayers for the victory of the military in the wake of catastrophes, transcending passionate quarrels over the proper role of religion in politics. The Thanksgiving Proclamation reminds us how natural their relationship has been. While church and state are separate, religion and politics, in their American refinement, prop each other up. And that was in the beginning, George Washington, the very first president. Proclamation for the city of Hot Springs. Whereas our forefathers established a day of Thanksgiving, a special day set aside to acknowledge their blessings. And whereas it has become tradition for the people of the United States to celebrate a day of Thanksgiving as a way of reflecting on their many blessings and giving thanks for all they have been given. And whereas the people of the country, and more specifically the people of Hot Springs, Arkansas, are truly blessed with much for which to be thankful. And whereas we count our blessings, let us not forget the freedoms we so often take for granted, freedoms that we were hard fought by earlier generations and current servicemen and women who have given their lives so that we might be free. Whereas with these freedoms come responsibility, it is up to each of us to find a way to participate in the community by working through the churches, the schools, the local service organizations, and the city to help improve the quality of life for those who are less fortunate. I, therefore, Ruth Carney, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, do hereby proclaim Thursday, November 26, 2015 as a day of Thanksgiving in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I urge all citizens to join with the churches of our city to reinforce the ties of family and community and to express gratitude for the many blessings we enjoy. In witness whereof I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed on the 17th day of November in the year of our Lord 2015. And I'd like for Drew to come.
Good. Got a picture.
Our next proclamation is entrepreneurship. Whereas entrepreneurship is vital for the growth and prosperity of small business and new job creation for the economy in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and the United States of America, and whereas recognizing Global Entrepreneurship Week is an effective way to highlight the importance of entrepreneurship in our nation's economy, whereas the Hot Springs Metro Partnership commends and supports this important cause and the organizations involved. Now, therefore, I, Ruth Carney, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, do hereby proclaim the week of November 16 through 22, 2015 as Global Entrepreneurship Week in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and urge all of our citizens to join in recognizing the value of our entrepreneurship and the importance it serves in our city, state, and nation. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed on the 17th day of November in the year of our Lord, 2015. And Mr. Fram, I think you're supposed to receive this one.
Thank you. I'm Jim Fram, President and CEO of the Hot Springs Metro Partnership. Global Entrepreneurship Week is being celebrated by economic development organizations across the country and around the globe this week. And I guess the best way to put in a capsule what we're trying to do in entrepreneurship, the most effective way to have a corporate headquarters in your community is to have that business be born in your community. And so we make a strong effort to garner and grow those businesses that start small and grow larger in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's when it goes in so it won't get wet. I have your envelope so it won't get wet on your way home. Sorry about that. Thank you so much. We will now hear our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Today we had some pretty significant storms roll through the city, and I want to express my appreciation for the Public Works Department as well as our fire and police. They responded very well to the to that particular storm and some of the emergent things that were happening during that time. We had reports of 27 trees down. 19 of those were blocking streets in various parts of the city. Multiple power lines were down. Those street crews, I know that they were out with urban forestry and some of sanitation, I think, helping them in some of the cleaning of that debris. We were able to unblock 11 of those 19 streets. There were still 8 remaining that had power lines in them. And those employees worked till just a little while ago until they got the last remaining tree that did not have power lines. Those that are remaining, if their lines are removed by energy throughout the night, we'll address those in the morning and get those streets blocked. So if you happen to live on one of those streets that's still blocked, that is the reason why. Please don't try to clear those trees yourself. They are live with some power lines in some of those. So for your safety, please stay away from those. We had some significant damage, as you know, to City Hall and the city manager's office. We had one other report of a building on Washita and Orange that lost part of the facade, but I don't know of any injuries or fatalities. So we're very blessed in that regard. Secondly, if you've been down Malvern Avenue over the past week, you'll notice that the new owners of the Austin Hotel are really starting to do some work on those particular properties. The municipal utility building that the city owns that once stood on that corner that we leased to that property owner, he has raised and removed that building. So we're looking forward to what the new purpose is for that site. Also, Christmas lights. We'll be turning on the Christmas lights Monday. That's the annual chili cook-off at the downtown parking deck. So I believe it's 5 that they turn those on. So any citizens that are interested in seeing the lights come on at the beginning of the season, please be at the parking deck around 5 o'clock or come down sooner and enjoy the chili cook-off. All of those proceeds go to purchase additional Christmas lights in the upcoming year.
Tell us when the chili cook-off starts, because I got there too late last time and there was no chili left.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
So
Thank
you have to be there at 4,
Lights are at 6.
and the lights are at 6. So if you think
Well,
you're going to
you
get
get there at
chilly,
5, you'll definitely see him at 6.
so
No,
go
thank you.
early.
I think Ned Permy's going to be the master of ceremonies for that, isn't he, Bill?
Yes, and typically he's here every year, and I think Ned Permy has agreed to come back this year. And lastly, in my report, Assistant Chief Jason Stacey with the Police Department. You may have seen an email earlier where Jason, I've met with Jason, and he will be our interim police chief at the retirement of Chief Flory that takes effect on November 30th. Jason will become the interim police chief on December 1st. We will start that recruiting process so we can start to begin an applicant pool. However, we will not be interviewing candidates. We will not be looking through those applicants. That's a position that I think needs to be hired by the new city manager or the city manager as this board hires one. And so we will continue the recruitment process to make sure that we're not missing any or gaps in times while we're waiting on the new city manager to be hired. However, we will start that recruiting process, and hopefully soon after a city manager's named, he'll be in a position to look through those applications. I think the new city manager should be the one that hires that position. So with that.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
And while we have Lance here, would you give us a little update on the
Oh, sure.
National League of Cities that you attended that I
Yeah.
wanted to go to?
Absolutely.
Can I
Thank
get-
you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I know we've got a pretty full agenda. November 4th through the 7th, I had the pleasure of attending the National League of Cities. It was the Congress of Cities. It's their smaller convention in Nashville, Tennessee. We did get to hear from a lot of great speakers and administrators. There were several secretaries within the presidential administration, Secretary of Labor, Transportation, et cetera. Vice President Biden did also speak. There was also numerous workshops, et cetera. Nashville is definitely a place where a lot of things are happening. They have something, their creative corridor, which is really, really blossoming into the place to be. It is also causing what we would like to have. The real estate prices are through the roof, and I think they made a joke that their city bird is a crane. I mean, they have numerous cranes throughout the area, but it was a great trip, and first time I've been to National League of Cities, so very beneficial.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you. Okay, do our directors have any announcements concerning upcoming events?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a judge at the chili cook-off,
Oh, wow.
so you better tell your boys, Bill, that I taste every cup.
Okay.
I know you do.
And she's the judge. Okay. Anything else upcoming?
I am not a judge, and I'm really happy about that.
And I judge many chili cook-offs, and if there should be a late need for a judge, I'd be available.
Okay, any other
I will
upcoming?
advocate my spot in favor of you. You're welcome to it.
Okay. Moving right along. The next item of business is the consideration of the consent agenda. Items in this section are of a routine nature and will be considered as one item of business without discussion. I will now entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I move for adoption of the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
My second.
And would you please call the roll?
Yes. Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley. Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. And it is adopted. And I would like to point out that number 14 was the appointing two people to the Housing Authority, and that was Wayne Griffin and Latasha Harris. Are either of you here tonight?
They are not.
They're not here. Okay. We want to congratulate them on that new appointment. Mr. Griffin is for 5 years, and Ms. Harris is for 4 years.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty long term. That's good. Okay. The next item of business is a public hearing regarding the issues of waterworks revenue bonds. Do we need to call the
Mayor, if
hearing
you'll just
to
call
order?
the public hearing to order and see if there's anyone that wants to come to the podium to speak at the public hearing portion. The ordinance itself will be part of your new business, which will be discussed momentarily.
Yeah, it's on the agenda to be discussed a little bit later. Some of you, didn't look, may have signed up for it there, but this is a public hearing if you'd like to
If
speak.
you'd call that open.
And the public hearing is now open. And I will hammer that one. I forgot to start us off with the hammer. Did anybody sign up for the public hearing? Yes, George Pritchett.
He scratched it off.
You scratched it off.
I scratched it off. I'll speak later on the ordinance,
Okay.
unless you want me to speak.
Does that mean you would speak twice, George?
Let's just give him one bite at the apple.
Oh, wow, George. Okay. And Skip Houston signed off too. So both of. Okay, we'll get you back there. Okay, anyone else? There's no one else signed up for the public hearing. That was your chance to be heard. Okay. I hereby call the public meeting over. Closed. Done. All right?
Beneath.
All right. And the next item of business is to consider resolution number R-1528. Council, 208. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R-15-208, a resolution approving a bid to Diamond Construction for Fairwood Force Main Phase 4 project. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt?
That's a move, Mayor.
And a second? Do we have? Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt. And our staff person is Mr. Carnahan.
Thank you, Mayor. The consent administrative order for our wastewater improvements to prevent sewer system overflows is started in 2009, and by the end of 2017, we have projects that we must complete, and those projects are going to cost about $70 million. We've spent about more than half of those funds. Tonight, I'm bringing you another large project that's on that list of projects that we must complete. And this one is a large sewer force main. It's 36-inch diameter and 42-inch diameter pipes, large pipes that will go from Fontana and Tatum Streets about 3 miles to the wastewater treatment plant, Fairwood Force Main Phase 4. We bid the project, and we were fortunate to receive 6 qualified bids that ranged in price from our low bid of $5,186,812 to a little over $7 million. So the low bidder was the Diamond Construction Company from North Little Rock, Arkansas. And tonight I'm asking you to approve the award of this bid to Diamond Construction Company. Yes, sir.
Carnahan, how much more do we have left? Did you say 70 million a while ago?
Right.
We have
Yes.
70 million remaining to complete the...
No, we had earlier a $29 million bond, which we have spent all of those funds, and then we had another $40 million bond, and I should be able to tell you that, but we're more than halfway finished with spending that. Okay. We have 2 more projects, I'll just say, that we're going to be bringing you in late December or January. That will be multi-million-dollar projects, $3-4 million projects also. And after that, then we'll reevaluate where we are with our funds. We have some projects at the wastewater plant that we're working on that will follow on behind those. So we'll have, in the next 6 months, in January, we'll bring you 2 more projects, Fairwood Force Main Phase 3 and Stokes Pump Station. And then we'll bring you 2 wastewater treatment plant projects, probably April or May of next year.
What's the anticipated completion date on the entire project?
December, we must complete these by December 2017. And we're hoping to finish a little bit ahead of that schedule.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
We didn't have anyone sign up for that. Do the directors have questions of Mr. Carnahan? Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Okay, do you have any discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Stuffed.
It is adopted. The next item of business is to consider resolution number R-15209. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R-15209, a resolution levying 1 mil of ad valorem taxes for the general fund. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
I'll move that we adopt it for discussion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt, and our staff person for that would be?
I'll take that, Mayor.
Madam Mayor, excuse me, before we have the discussion, I would like to make an amendment to the motion. And the amendment being that we have a levy of 0 mills for ad valorem taxes for the general fund.
I second that.
Okay. We have, before discussion, an amendment to the resolution to place a 0 mills for the ad valorem tax for general fund. Any questions? Discussion? Hearing none, would you call the roll on that one?
Sure. Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark. Williams.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. The amendment is approved. Now, would you like to discuss?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Members of the board, as you know, back in February at your retreat, you identified several key goals moving forward, and part of that was to fund some of the unfunded capital projects that we have coming within the future, whether that be a communication system, downtown, parking specifically in the downtown area, or other unfunded projects that we know will be coming. Arkansas School for Math and Science demolition, for example, police, public safety radios, new fire stations or repairs to existing fire stations, and other transportation needs that we've identified throughout the system. The resolution coming to you with the recommendation for a millage, as you know, we bring everything to the board in the affirmative. I felt that I needed to recommend a mill so we could have that kind of discussion. For us to accomplish the goals that the board has set through, we need to look at every option that's available to us to increase the revenues to accomplish these goals. Should any of these millages have passed or pass, my recommendation would to set those aside in a restricted fund that would be used solely for the purpose of one of the items that the board has prioritized as one of those capital needs or projects that we need to fund. Is this the only option that we have? No. Is it the best option that we have? I don't know. But it is an option, and I think the worst thing that we could do is to look at the goals and the projects that we need and not have any discussion on whether this is one of the options that we need to consider. I think all options should be considered as we look through that. I can appreciate the amendment to this particular resolution. Again, I've said in the past that my role is not to push for the millage, but it is to provide this board with documentation and information and in some cases, a reminder of what those goals that have been given to staff are. And when there's an option to increase revenues for us to be able to accomplish those, I think that's part of the role of the city manager is to bring that to you. So that is why you have seen a recommendation for that particular millage. And I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay, we have people signed up, and then we'll open it for discussion. Renee Westfall.
Good evening. My name is Renee Westfall. I live at 102 Glen Meadow. First of all, directors, mayor, and city manager, thank you. Thank you for leaving it on the agenda. Thank you for letting us talk about it. I agree with you, Mr. Burrow. This is the right way to do it. Let me just start, and I'm going to save you guys a little bit of time. Provided further that we request of future board of directors that said levy may not be so reinstated unless so authorized by the majority vote of the citizens of Hot Springs at an election called for said purpose. just as Mr. Burrows is reminding you Board of Directors and Mayor, of your options open to you, I'd like to remind you of the promise made 27 years ago. That promise was made, it was heartfelt. Every person who was sitting in those chairs then that you are now sitting in gave the people of this city that promise. And yeah, there's still some of us around that want you to keep it. I'm not opposed to a ballot millage. I'm not opposed to economic development. I'm not opposed to capital improvement. I support the opportunity for the people who are raising these taxes and paying these taxes to have a chance to engage all of you and make the decisions with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bob Driggers.
This is a city issue. Want me to state their name and address?
Bob Driggers, 3 Stone Gate. Director's Folly's motion and your approving this has changed my presentation significantly. But I think it's still worth going over some of the points because you're still going to be looking for money from some source, although it might not be this source. And I would like to point out what this board has already demonstrated, what you're about to demonstrate if and when you go for funding, and what you're about to prove. You obviously have too many liabilities and not enough assets. In other words, too many projects and not enough money. You have far too many non-essential commitments and you keep adding more. For example, the tearing down of the St. Joseph Hospital and paying $670,000 for a burned down building that's going to cost $2 million or so to renovate or put to the ground. You're still spending millions on water and $70 million I just heard on sewer, almost nothing on streets. You have 20 parks and miles of greenway that you don't maintain, apparently can't afford to, but you're still trying to add more parks. You have way too many studies and way too many consultants. How many radio studies, for Pete's sake, are enough? By even considering this tax, you've demonstrated you have little moral concern for what your predecessors promised, just by considering it. You have a budget that's way too high. A couple of years ago, we checked out the budget for Little Rock, 171,000 people. Their budget was $171 million. That's $1,000 per person. We have a $100 million budget for 35,000 people. That's about $3,000 for every man, woman, and child in town. You have over 600 employees, most of which drive your 500 almost new vehicles home every day. You have way too many chiefs and not enough Indians. For example, you just had 3 city managers, numerous department heads. If my figures that I got from the city are correct, there's 45 city employees have compensation packages over $100,000 each. So what I'm saying is there's plenty of places you can cut without adding money. You know you wasted more than $2.8 million in designing that water intake and plant on a site on South Lake Hamilton that you were told multiple times would never be approved. And you have adopted a $100 million plan for water for Markadelphia instead of one of the 3 lakes here in Garland County. You've hyped a fictitious water crisis and basically stopped all development in the county.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make the other 2 points on one of the other issues.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Driggers.
I have a question of Mr. Driggers. Mr. Driggers, do you live in the city? Are you a citizen of Hot Springs City?
I am not a citizen. I'm in the ETJ overlooking the city limits, and I expect I'll probably be annexed pretty soon.
Thank you.
Dan Lewin.
Dan Lewin, 135 Magnolia. I do live in the city. I've said before that when you make decisions, I said any decision that you make, has consequences, and you got to stick to them. You made it as the board has made a decision before not to levy any more taxes unless it's voted on. And that's binding to you all. You can't just say, well, that was somebody else. It was you, the city board, that did it. So you need to stick by that. If you don't have enough money to run the city, why did we buy this heap of trash there on Park Avenue for $640,000 that's just sitting there? I mean, and this is not the end. You have to spend a whole lot more money to do it. And you didn't consider then what you need. And here you want to put a tax on us to pay for your indiscretion. You have to think that what can we do to get this money without having to tax the citizens? Well, one thing is, like anybody else that runs out of money, you have to cut down on some of your spendings. You got all kinds of people looking for a new manager. You pay somebody to pay for a new manager, for a new police chief. We don't need to do that. We got a good man right now, and we got a good police chief coming up there, in Officer Stacy. You know, why do you have to spend more money? You spend all kinds of money on wastewater, this and wastewater that. Gosh, there can't be that much wastewater around. And so what you need to do is you have to figure out what is in this city that we can cut down on. Can you cut 2% across the board from your budget, from every department? No, I don't. I think, you know, any department can stand a 2% cut. That'll bring in some money. I've told you for a number of years, you know, try and figure out some way that we can get a few dollars out of Oaklawn. They should pay their fair share. They don't, but they should. What can you do to get some money there? There's plenty of money in Hot Springs, and you shouldn't tax the citizens over and over and over. It's not the 1 mil or the 0.4 mil, but it's what's the next mil? And we're tired. We don't want to be taxed anymore. So set your house in order. See, look at it. Yes, we can cut this out. We can cut this out. We can, and like I say, a 2 or 5% cut across the border is not going to kill anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewin.
Mr. Lewin, I have a question for you, sir.
sir.
Respectfully. You mentioned the Majestic. You know, we had, I want to say, citizen outrage about the city leaving it in the rubble pile that it was for so long, and we had the opportunity to purchase the property. What would you have suggested that we would have done? Build a taller fence and leave it the way it is, or what's your suggestion on that?
Well, I don't think the city should have bought it in the first place.
Well, I mean, what can we do? What could we do?
Well, what you do is what you were supposed to do is fine them for not doing anything. And
We did that.
And is the guy in jail?
No, he's not in jail. That's the way the court
See,
system
when I don't
works.
pay my bills, and you know, and the creditors come and I refuse to pay my bills, I'm going to go to jail. Now the city could have just taken that property over for nothing. Then you would have had $640,000 to clear it up.
If we would have claimed eminent domain on that, we've been in court for 2 or 3 years, and we would have to take 2 appraisals. Theirs might have been 7, ours might have been 600,000, and they would have met in the middle, and we'd be paying $300,000.
You mean to tell me that there's nobody in the United States that would love to buy that gold mine that's sitting there for an investment?
Do you have someone in mind?
I have someone in mind, yeah.
Well, please have him get in contact with us. We'd love to talk to him.
I have sent them literature and information, yes. But you see, this is not me sending out. This is the Chamber of Commerce. The board should be searching. I mean, you must have a list of entrepreneurs and investors.
Okay.
And, you know, invite them to come down here to take a look and wine and dine them for a day or so.
Oh, if we wine them and dine them, you'd be real mad at us.
Okay, then, you know.
Can I make a
that's
suggestion?
An investment in your future. See?
Well, we
Like
made an investment.
when you go to college, you're not really producing,
Mr.
but you're
Dan.
investing in your future. And that's the
Mr.
thing.
Dan, can
Yes,
I make
ma'am.
a real big suggestion that you and Mr. Raymond get
I'm sorry.
together at his office and have this huge discussion on options. Could you do that? Would you?
I would love to
you meet
broker
with
that deal
Dan?
if you've got someone that's willing to buy it. I'd love to broker that deal for you.
Would you? Yeah, make an appointment and go
it's
talk
not
with.
very often I get to speak.
I know. We're so excited.
I'm trying to help you out there.
Thank you. But y'all get together on that.
Anybody else have
let's
any
talk
questions?
it out. No, thank you. All right. George Pritchett. It is.
I'm not going to ask you a question, George.
No, you won't. You don't want me to keep speaking. George Pritchett, 207 Crestwood. I want to commend Bill Burrow. I attended the budget planning meeting and the agenda meeting, and I want to commend this board as they met and discussed the issue with the millage. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate that you can't speak at those points, but they were very good. Same with the proposal for the budget. I point out that I think our biggest problem in our city is that we spend more than we take in. And the only way that you stop spending is that you budget only what you're going to take in. We budget year after year more than we take in, folks. We're going to be down this year $1.5 million or so. We're down $1 million or so last year. Now, Mr. Burrow found a number of things and got some good responses from his department heads in reducing things for the 2016 budget, and I commend him for that. I also believe that part of that money we found is money that was excess in the budget place last year. So you can always pull some money out and buy someplace like the Majestic. As for the Majestic, Director Ramick, I think I'd rather see it stand than I would to see the city spend the $680,000. I will point out that no one would bid $1,250,000 for that piece of property. Now, we may ultimately do something with it, but the city does not have the money to do anything with it. I heard on the radio this morning, or I was told, we talked about borrowing from the sanitation fund to clean it up. Since when did we borrow from a self-supporting fund to handle a general fund job? And at what point will our burden of debt in the city become so great that we'll be looking at ourselves like they looked at Detroit? I think we have to budget what we project our revenues to be. The county has a great plan, 90% of the projected revenue. Put the 10% back, you still have it next year. I know the law does not require that for city manager form of government. However, it's a darn good plan as to how to budget. How many of you folks sitting up there budget at home and spend more money than you take in routinely, year after year? Yes, Mr. Ramick, I appreciate that.
Yeah, okay.
You do?
You was asking a question, yeah.
Yeah, you spend more than you take in. Well, Mr. Ramick, we'll try to be helpful to you in the future after your retirement somehow. I appreciate you letting me speak. Thank you for what you did tonight. I was glad to see it was unanimous. I appreciate it very much. Mr. Burrow, I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, could I ask a question, please?
Oh, my.
Mr. Pritchett?
Oh, my.
Oh, the clock starts again. I love it.
Mr. Pritchett, you made the comment that we continue to spend more than we make.
Yes,
I've been on
sir.
this board since 2013, 12, 13, yeah. And we have yet to lose money in any of those years. For the public out there listening to your comments, they're led to believe that we are always in a deficit, and that is not true. You brought that up before, and I challenged you and said we are not, in fact, spending more than we're making. We're adding to the fund balance every year, including this year with the excess health care benefits that have gone beyond budget. Bottom line for the city is we have not lost money, at least for the time that I have been on this board. So I don't know what financials you're looking at, but you are mistaken on this.
Let me answer that. The financials that you have for 2014 show that we spent more money than we took in.
That is not true.
Well, I'll get with Doretha and she can explain that to me. I'm just looking at your balance sheet. Your projected income into the general fund for 2016 is greater than the revenue that you're projecting. If the revenues come in as they were predicted for 2015, we will have spent more money than we brought in. That's all I'm doing. I can only look at the financials that come from your accounting department, which is a very fine accounting department.
Okay, you're confusing the budget with the statement of condition and the income statement that are real numbers. The budget is a forward look about the plan about how we will bring revenues in and spend money.
Sir, you're
So that-
absolutely right, but
so
I
to-
might
to-
mention that the actual numbers are shown on your balance sheet for last year right now.
The profit is not shown on the balance sheet, as a profit is shown on the income statement, okay? So when you look at the bottom line and the balance fund has increased every year, that means we are not losing money, we are making money.
Then,
Now,
sir,
we're not making
I-
a lot of money, but we are making money. We are living within the budget, too.
Then, sir, I offer that there's no need to increase the taxes. We should be able to pay for these general fund improvements that we need without tax increases.
Well, I'll address that later, but I just want to clarify that your comments are not correct. And I don't want the public to be of the mind that this city is spending more than it brings in.
I would be happy at a forum to sit down and debate you that
Don't
with
have
the,
to debate
with
it. I
the
look at the
financial,
financials.
the financial director there explaining the numbers, because I would certainly apologize to this board, the citizens of Hot Springs, and anyone else if that's not the case.
I promise you, I do understand the financials. We are not losing money.
So do I. When I ran a business and I had a multi-million-dollar prospect, I knew at the end of it, after our budget and at the end of the year, whether we made money or not. If we made money, we had money to spend for capital improvements. Why doesn't this city have money to spend for capital improvements, sir?
I'll share that with you in a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, just one point of clarification. George is right that the county, by law, can only spend 90% of its budget. But this board has
Appropriate.
has a self-imposed mark of 84%. We're required to keep 16% in reserves.
Right.
2.5.
It's actually, they can only appropriate 90% of the anticipated revenues.
Okay. Skip. Skip Houston.
And 100% of grant funds.
Skip Houston, 155 Five Point Circle in the Extended District, a prospective conscripted citizen of Hot Springs, apparently like Bob Driggers. Any questions on details of finances? I'll allow Mr. Foley and Mr. Pritchett to discuss those. But in just general remarks, as you know, I've been here recently to discuss the annexation issue. And because of that, I have an interest in this subject here today. Like Mr. Driggers, we're not yet citizens of Hot Springs, but we certainly have a target on our back to be annexed under forced annexation. And because of that, we're very concerned about property taxes or potential tax increases, property or otherwise, that would go along with that. It seems to me that from what I've been able to read and accumulate on this, once again, the city is admitting, when they talk about adding on a millage, that they are admitting an inability to live within its means and within its budget. And once again, the city is seeking to deal with that inability by increasing the tax burden on its citizens without allowing them to have the right to vote on it. And that's simply not right to do an increase of that without without allowing the people to vote on it. My apology for that phrasing. At least now we know that one of the reasons at least apparently that the city is looking at the annexation issue is to expand its area. Didn't make a lot of sense because there's not a lot of businesses out in a lot of those areas. It's mostly residential. But there's a lot of valuable lake property out there, and that does increase the property tax base for the city. That may not be the only reason, but it seems that that's pretty apparent now that that's one of the reasons. Mr. Burris cited the fact there that 1 mil, I believe you said, is $20 on a $100,000 home under the current assessment, and that, I believe, is correct on that. But, Mr. Burris, it doesn't matter if it's $20 or 20 cents. It's still taking money from the citizens without allowing them to vote on it. And that's my main beef with this, is if you don't allow the people to vote on it. Once again, you're within your rights to do so. Under state law, you can, up to 5 mils that you can approve, but it's simply not right to do it without a vote of the people. And there seem to be a heck of a lot of things that the city just doesn't seem to want the citizens to be able to vote directly on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are open for discussion. Go ahead, Bill.
Mayor, I'd just like to say that this proposed millage which is now zero. This was in no way to balance the 2016 budget. I think we have brought a very sound budget to the board for 2016. It's at the hard work of our department heads and the employees that not only controlled their expenses in 2015, but are forecasting to do the same in 16. The millage that we are discussing are for future projects that we foresee. And I can tell you that some of the people that have spoke regarding this millage are some of the very ones that will most likely speak in 4 or 5 years if we don't do something today when those come to pass and we're not able to fund them. We will look back and go, well, you did not plan ahead for these funds. So again, this is only one of the options and may not be the best option. There are other options, and once we close the door on this, staff will begin to look at the other options that we have to still achieve the goals of this board and to be able to fund those capital projects that are looming 3 or 4 years out. Thank you.
Okay. Mr.
Mayor.
Just a
I'm
second.
sorry.
He's got his finger up there.
Well, I'm afraid this is going to be like one of those Republican debates where I was going to have to say, hey, can I talk?
Just raise your hand.
Anyway, it occurred to me that after Bill had made his budget presentation to us last week, that this millage was not about funding the operation part of our budget, but capital needs that are unmet. Now, I think one of the things I bring to this board is institutional memory. Some people would say he's just been around too long. But I do recall that in 1992, the Hot Springs Board of Directors developed a capital improvement bond plan where they put before the voters 8 temporary property tax millage proposals to fund capital items. This was done after the directors had public participation and identified needs and developed and refined proposed solutions. From those 8 millage proposals that were voted on in the general election of 1992, and I might add that that was a presidential year, so you had a heavy turnout. 6 of those 8 went down to defeat, but the 2 that passed, and sometimes it helps to remind us what we've done in the past, is the 2 new fire stations that we have. The Central Fire Station and the Panama Fire Station were funded by a temporary millage of 2.06 mils. And our animal shelter was funded with a 0.27 mil temporary tax levy. Both those have since, bonds have been paid off and the levies were reduced back to 0. I would simply suggest that moving forward, and since we have a year to do it, is that we begin a process of identifying potential capital projects that could be paid for in this manner, and in the same way, the voters would have an opportunity to approve those millage levies. And I just wanted to throw that out there. But we can be working on that for next year, and that will enable us to meet some of those capital needs, and it also will satisfy those people who have spoken tonight that are not necessarily opposed to the projects but want the opportunity to vote on them. So I just want to throw that out.
Yes, sir.
Dovetailing on what Director Williams said, you know, we hear almost on a weekly basis, what are you going to do about the Majestic? What are we going to do about the roads? You know, we need improvements there. Look what Little Rock is doing with the Riverwalk. Look what North Little Rock is doing with Argenta. Look at everything that's going on in Springdale. Let me give you some facts here. Little Rock, millage, 15.2. Fort Smith, 8 points. Fayetteville, 3.1. Springdale, 8.2. Jonesboro, 3 points. North Little Rock, 10 points. Conway, 4.2. Rogers, 4.8. Bentonville, 8.6. Texarkana, 4.5. Jacksonville, 10.5. West Memphis, 3 points. El Dorado, 3.8. Eureka Springs, 5.4. Arkadelphia 4.4, Malvern 5.0, Arkadelphia 6.5. Then we have Hot Springs, 0.0. Out of 19 cities, we're the only one that don't have an ad valorem tax. Now, I am not for this tax tonight, but I just want the citizens to know that if they want all these things to happen, if they want better roads, if they want the water plant, if they want all this stuff, someone's got to step up and pay for it. So, and I appreciate you standing by our side on this.
Yeah. And I want to say something about the Majestic.
Just a second.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Foley.
I would just like to put a little bit of this in perspective. What I have to say is going to really relate to the issue at hand as well as the next two issues, because the public's perception is that if we pass a millage for the fire and police, for example, we get to pull some of that back into the general fund that we're now contributing. We keep getting reference to the moral obligation that we have to a commitment that was made by the board back in 1988. And if I got my numbers correctly from my source, the commitment at that time, and I think it was in the ordinance, was that the city was at that time contributing $8.3 million to the police and fire funds. And in order that the public was assured that they would not take the tax revenues and use those for the funds, and then the city withdraw its $8.3 million. That was part of the ordinance, that the city would continue that contribution. What in fact has really happened is because past boards did not pay for the unfunded pension liability that we have, the commitment from this city's general fund has gone from $8.3 million to $11.4. So that's a $3 million, that's almost a 50% increase, say a 40% increase in the contribution out of the general fund. So when you hear people say, well, why aren't you saving money out of the general fund? You got plenty of places to cut. The general fund is only $20 million. That $3 million is a 15% cut right there. And this happens year after year after year. We had a Blue Ribbon Citizens Committee that worked with the city on the prior board that identified the major capital expenditure projects that we had. And we actually are quite far down the road on some of those projects. But we have a lot to do. I echo Director Ramick's and Director Williams' comments relative to supporting the attitude that the public needs to weigh in and weigh in with their vote on it. Because from my perspective, if the public does not want good fire protection, if they don't want good police protection, they can say that in their vote. In the fire especially, if we don't have adequate coverage with fire station locations and adequate equipment, they will eventually pay for that vote with higher insurance rate because we'll lose our insurance ratings. So I really don't want to oppose a millage on property. I would like it to, actually, I think we need to raise revenue. But I think the public has to have a say in that before we do it. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone over here want to speak? All are happy? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll? And you want to wait just a second.
Would you clarify the roll?
Yeah,
please?
wait just a second. Council, would you please clarify what we're voting on?
The motion on the floor as amended is for 0 mills.
Okay. And a yes vote would be for the 0
A
mills.
yes is for 0, a no is not for 0.
By the way, we are required to address this every year, are we not?
Yeah.
Right.
So for people to say it's immoral to even put it on the agenda really it speaks to the fact they don't really know the obligations that we have. Thank you.
Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Ramick.
Aye?
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
It is adopted.
It is adopted. Okay, the next item of business is to consider resolution number R-1510. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R 15-210, a resolution levying 4/10 of 1 mil of ad valorem taxes for the purpose of paying the fire officer's pension. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt? Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt, and the staff person would be
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I'm sorry. She had her hand up first.
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to this to 0 mills, please.
Okay, we have an
Second.
amendment. We have a motion and a second to amend this to 0 mills. Any discussion on that one? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed indicate by saying no. Okay. Now, we'll have discussion. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. It
On
follows
amended.
along with the previous resolution. I will say that there's been some confusion on this particular item and the next one. This 4/10 mill was to pay through that pension, and it would alleviate money in the general fund. The recommendation for those alleviated funds would be to restrict those again for that public safety purpose of whether that be fire stations or communication systems. Again, it was one of the options that we had available to us, so we bring it to you as a recommendation. I can appreciate the amendment to 0 and fully agree with that. However, again, I think we have to explore every option, and that's why it came to you as a recommendation. Should this board vote 0 mills, I can tell you staff will begin the process of looking at other ways to accomplish those goals.
And now,
I also want to add, Mayor, that there is not, for our listening public, we continue to fund our lot fee. Lot fee was around $43 million. I think currently it's about $28 million. We have a plan to pay that old closed plan off in somewhere around 22 years. We continue to make our payments on an annual basis. The old plan is about 17% of the payroll. 2016, our police lot fee percentage is 35.59%, and again, 17% of that is for the closed plan. In fire, it's 49.73%. 30.48 of that is for the closed plan. We make those payments on an annual basis, and there has not been a single police officer, retired police officer, or retired fireman that has had a reduced check or no check. We have met our obligation, and we continue to meet those obligations, and we do have a solid plan to pay that closed debt down over the course of time. So I want to make sure that our listening public understands that. So thank you.
thank you. Okay, Bob Driggers.
If you would, before you start my time, I would like to finish responding to Director Foley's inquiry. He seems obsessed about the fact that I do live outside of the city limits, but I'm here tonight representing the Garland Good Government Group that voted Thursday night unanimously to oppose this tax and this funding, and most of those people do live within the city limits.
May I ask how many
personally-
were those? How many members did you have voting?
Okay, just a
23, I
moment.
think.
Let's reserve the questions till his time's up and then ask him.
Let's
You wanna-
restart the time.
Just want to restart it.
But I am a water and wastewater customer, by the way. As a matter of fact, I get to pay 150% of what the people living in the city pay, and do pay a lot of sales tax in the city. It's 12.5%, I believe it is, every time I go to eat in the city. So the county residents pay most of your sales tax, or a good portion of it, because there's more folks in the county than there are in the city. And as far as the item tonight not being something that should be considered, I say you started my time already, okay.
We ran it back. Keep going.
Okay. 0 mills was not on the agenda tonight, Director. 1 mill, .4, and .4 was on the agenda. You guys just got through amending them. And that's, if it had been 0 mills like they were last year, we wouldn't probably have been here tonight. But anyway, my earlier presentation talked about how you've demonstrated that you're very good at spending. And I wanted to point out what you're about to demonstrate. when you do come up with funding, you're demonstrating you don't really care about the city's reputation for high taxes. And you don't really care about the welfare of your citizens. Remember, many, if not most, are senior citizens on their own fixed incomes. And you're certainly demonstrating that you don't want them to have a vote. So we have no problem if you allow the people to vote. If they want to be taxed, then let them be taxed. But it appears you'd rather raise taxes than cut expenses. Now again, Director Foley, you just pointed out, raise revenues. The alternative of that is cut expenses. You don't have a clue how to live in a reasonable budget. So I would encourage you tonight, you noticed I signed up in favor of this, because I would like some of you to go ahead, show your true colors. And that'll prove that you don't know the meaning of fiscal responsibility. And it will prove that you do not know the meaning of cut expenses. Cut expenses. There are many, many places to cut your expenses. And I agree with Director Williams. Let the people vote.
Thank you. Renee Westphal.
Renee Westphal, 102 Glen Meadow. The police and fire retirement has been close to my heart and the subject of numerous emails since the budget was presented last year. And I questioned the then city manager about how much we were putting into those old accounts. I didn't get a satisfactory answer, and I've heard Mr. Foley's answer, and I've actually got some quotes here from him. The underfunded lot fee accounts have been kicked down the road for 27 years. Maybe more. Some can go back to 1941. But under the city manager form of government, for those of you who don't remember, and I think, Ms. Jones, I bet you will, guess why we went to the city manager form of government? It was these underfunded retirement accounts. And in the time since we've had the city manager form of government, you've not dealt with them. Right now, you're throwing out words like throwing out $28 million. Your own consulting report that the former city manager paid $15,000 to do shows that there's $41 million underfunded. A couple of the emailed responses from past city managers. The city of Hot Springs has always made its required payment to lot fee and APRs. These are defined benefits. So I responded, so you mean we don't owe any more money? The city does not have a pension fund. Every year, these two agencies assess their members, including Garland County, for the cost of funding that plan. Then I did the Freedom of Information request. And then I found the $41 million consulting study. After that, Mr. Thomason, I believe, on the 16th of January, interviewed the former city manager. A quote from that paper, but we're not dealing with it. Lot fee isn't dealing with it. No one is dealing with it like they should. There have been a lot of cans kicked down the road. We don't have a dearth of cans to deal with. Watkins said his focus right now is on the water supply, the wastewater consent administrative order issued by the Environmental Protection Agency and downtown revitalization. On February 23rd, Mr. Foley, you responded to me after this board, including its new members, were brought up to speed on the retirement underfunding. The city board had its retreat last week, and the issue of lot fee was brought up in the context of priorities and as well as a discussion so all directors, including the new, would understand the issue. Your concerns were specifically addressed. The result of the discussion is the directors are comfortable with the method of paying off past liability the way that it is currently set up. The vagaries of retirement debt, the market were discussed, and the method most appropriate to pay off the debt as well as not expose the city to any more liability. We believe we have the right solution. I don't believe you have a solution yet, and I'll speak on the next issue.
Thank you. George Pritchett.
George Pritchett, 207 Crestwood. Director Foley, you mentioned a while ago, and I'm speaking specifically of the fire. I will in just 1 second about the additional money transferred out to public safety I'll use. That's true, but our sales tax revenues increased year after year after year. So it does go up because everything goes up as we review budgets, it goes up. Director Williams, I commend you for suggesting we put it on the ballot. Director Ramick, I think you concede putting it on the ballot is the right idea, letting the people decide. I'm not concerned about the 4 mills. I'm concerned that we did propose that we've now removed. I'm concerned about the fact that it was just 4 mills that was going to contribute to the general fund. However, City Manager Burrow, you cleared that up. You would like to have that committed should that have been adopted. That's admirable. That's not what the public was aware of up until you stated that tonight, sir. So I appreciate that. If you had told me that that millage was going to be directly to augment what we now do for the fire, I would have said to the group that I represent, the Garland County Tax Alliance, this might be a good idea to pay it down. But I really don't like millages to begin with. Gather these things up, put it out there on a sales tax, put it before the people, and if it passes, folks, adopt it, spend the money. If it doesn't, then go to your program of reducing costs, because I don't care about Little Rock, North Little Rock, Fort Smith, and anybody else that has millages. I care about the people of Hot Springs, many of which live on fixed income, many which live on entitlements, disabilities. We live in a poor city, and it might be wonderful to put a whole bunch of stuff down at the Majestic property, and it might be great we bought it, but the majority of the citizens that spend the money when they go to Kroger and they go to out to eat and they go to Walmart and buy their necessities because it's the cheapest place in town, they just simply don't have any more money to put out. Their belts have been tightened up a lot the last few years, and there's not much happening. There's not going to be an increase to Social Security this year. So when we're looking at things, remember when you propose those raises that you all are discussing, and I understand why, and that 2% goes to our city employees, all your people that are on entitlements, whether they be earned entitlements or entitlements that they get because of disability or other, they're getting nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Skip Houston.
Skip Houston, 155 Five Point Circle. I'll be very brief. As amended, I have no objection as long as we have zeros in those columns. I think everybody that's spoken tonight is aware of the fact that, as Mr. Foley pointed out, that that is something that has to be considered every year. I believe someone else mentioned if it had been publicized that you were going to propose to approve it at zero, we wouldn't even be here having this discussion tonight. So I have no objection to that. I do appreciate the fact that at least a couple of the directors have expressed a willingness or a preference to have any future increase to be voted on, and I appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Any discussion from the board members? Have any discussion? Yes, sir.
I do. I would just like to clarify a couple of things. Mr. Pritchett said that, yeah, we are taking more money out of the general fund to fund the safety issues for police and fire, and that the sales tax revenue has gone up, and it in fact has, but it's not close to $3 million a year. So what that really means is other funds that are supported by the general fund are getting less attention because of the continued payment to the police and fire pension programs. Now, for the public, 3 years ago, we started out with a $42 million liability that dropped to a $41 million liability. Last year, at the end of the year, the auditor came and said, your unfunded liability is now $25 million. And that, for the public's information, that's because the market did so well. Well, this year, the market hasn't been as kind, so it went from $25 million back up to $28 million. So when I told Ms. Westfall that I was very comfortable that the board had in fact discussed the pension plan, and that I was comfortable because this is not like a mortgage where you get to pay a fixed amount every year. This is like a mortgage plus, and the plus is depending on what happens with the market and how many people retire. The reason I'm comfortable with it is because the actuary actually gives us a number for our current pension plan and then gives us the number that we also have to pay for the unfunded part that was now subject to poor market performance, for example. And yet it's still planned to pay out in 22 years. So I am still very comfortable with what we are doing, but I want to emphasize that what we are doing continues to take away from the general fund for other projects. Thank you.
This is kind of like an adjustable rate mortgage, just reviewed
Right.
every year.
Right.
So,
Director Williams.
go ahead.
I think there's some insinuation, and it's just looking at the sales tax, that we're a high-tax city and county. When you look at property taxes, we are a low-tax city and county. We're the lowest. We're the only city that you just mentioned with zero. The county doesn't have a general fund property tax levy either, because they did the same thing that city board did and said, hey, if you'll approve voters a sales tax, we won't levy a general fund millage. Now, they didn't put theirs in a resolution the way a board 27 years ago did. But the fact of the matter is that that's 9 mills that was eliminated. And if you're just looking at millage, then, we're low. Now, in terms of what the other taxing units applied to the assessed value, I can't speak to that. But in terms of millage rates, neither the city or county levy a general fund millage. Although, well, I'll come back to that later. I'll come back to that later. But I just want to make that point.
Any other comments? Mr. Ramick, did you have something?
No.
Okay. Anyone over here?
I'm good.
Okay, hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Foley,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Ramick,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
It
It
is
is adopted. The next item of business is to consider resolution number R-15-211. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R-15-211, a resolution levying 4/10 of 1 mil of ad valorem taxes for the purpose of paying police officers' pension. That concludes your reading, Mayor. For now, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt. Yes, ma'am?
I move to amend the motion
Okay.
and change it to 0 mills.
Okay. We have a motion to amend, to change it to 0 mills. We have a second by Ms. Elaine.
Second. Oh.
Okay. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please say no. Okay, it is amended. And now, Mr. Beal again.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief on this one. I think I've said everything on the prior two. But the board's taken a lot of heat for having something other than a 0 on these millages that I brought to you. As I mentioned earlier, we as staff are focused on this board's goals. We've heard what the board said at your retreat. We're trying to identify ways to accomplish those goals and to meet this unfunded capital projects that are looming. Said it earlier, this is only one of the options, and I hear the board very clearly that this is not the way that they would like to do it. That's fine. We're going to look at other ways. But the board's taken a lot of heat because these are not zeros. And I just want our audience and those at home to understand that I am the sole purpose for that. It was no one on this board. I recommended these mills to the board to accomplish these goals. I can appreciate that the board has amended those to 0, but no one on this board put those numbers in there. That was my recommendation as the city manager to accomplish these goals and bringing that to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have the same one signed up. Do we want to go through that one more time? Bob Driggers? Yeah, okay. 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 Renee Westfall?
Unless you've moved in the last time you spoke.
No. Director Foley and the rest of the board, I wasn't going to get into to a whole lot of the 1988 year because I think we've all heard enough about it. However, it's key to understand with this underfunded account, it's not just a minor thing that we've had some variations in the market. We started out underfunded in this account. We've never fixed it. We've never made an attempt to fix it. We've been paying these outrageous rates. And the 2012 consulting report, your consultant that you hired said that those rates could go up as high as 75%. You got a good couple of years now, but that's what you supplied to me. This is the police and fire, 40 million, 28 million, 25 million. And I'm going to tell you what, y'all have to explain some accounting because I don't understand how you earn interest on negative $28 million. How do you give the police and fire a legitimate retirement account that grows money when you are negative more than $20 million in it? You cannot tell me that does not affect how much money there is in the pool to divide for their retirement. It just doesn't make sense. You know, if you have money in the bank and you pay and you've got $40 million there, you earn quite a bit of interest and your retirement grows. Each of these people grow. There was never any money in those accounts to earn interest, you know, and we never did anything about it. So I guess that's some new accounting. Maybe Common Core teaches us how to do that. The only other thing, and I'll make this brief, it's not only the Majestic, and you know, you guys made your call on that. That's what we decided to do. But every time you raise your hands and vote in a budget, you've got items in there like that $120,000 study for the city-only emergency communications. You approved a $600,000 custom-made pumper truck for the fire department last time. I think that we have to make those tough decisions about, do we need the new vehicles? Do we need that? Or do we honor our promise to our police and fire and make sure that they've got the right kind of retirement account? And I do support the police and fire. I support fully figuring out a way to fix that problem. Thank you both.
Okay, thank you. George Pritchett. Oh, you're coming back.
I haven't moved, so appreciate it.
I hope y'all don't figure out this system that if you sign up for every item, you get to talk a lot.
No, you don't give us an opportunity to sign up
Okay.
for that many items usually.
All right, go, your time zone.
I want to go back and City Manager Burrow, I want to thank you for bringing that to the board's attention, bringing it to the public's attention, giving us this opportunity. Director Williams, I think in the agenda meeting, I believe it was you that suggested we put these numbers out there so the public would know. That was a wonderful idea. I felt like y'all would do the right thing and put zeros in there at this meeting, but at least we had an idea to talk about and talk with others about. I want to reiterate that the general fund increases every year from sales tax revenue. With that, we've raised what we transfer out to public safety. That's a normal activity. We would always do that. The 4 mills, had we chosen to do that, was not going to be dedicated. I reiterate that. If you had to put it down there to dedicate it, it might have been different in my eyes. I'm very concerned about some of the other actions we've taken and how we were going to pay for them. Annexation's a big item. With 5 enclaves out there that we're considering annexing, I cannot believe that you can take on not only 1, but 5 without additional cost. And those areas do not present or will not produce a significant amount of sales tax revenue. Without a property millage, those areas are going to be negative performers for the city, add burden and cost without any revenue benefit to the city. That's scary, folks, when we look at these budgets year after year. And yes, something that you all mentioned, this comes up every year. Never before have I, as a citizen in Hot Springs for 10 years, felt that there was going to be millage values placed in there and the possibility of a property tax being imposed upon our residents. We're still a poor city. We were when I came up a few minutes ago. Most of our residents still qualify like that. And I reiterate, I don't care what the other cities do. People located here, one of the reasons I live in Hot Springs, Arkansas is you have no property tax. okay? That was something that attracted me. I own 10 properties in the city. It attracted me because you did not have that, and I rent those out. But if you pass any type of cost along, to me, I pass it along to renters. It's inflationary. It makes it more difficult for the people in our city. I believe all landlords do, all leaseholders do for commercial and residential property. We must be careful. And all of our costs that we need for wastewater and water, those are in enterprise funds, and you routinely, and you have a rate study you're going to conduct that will come back and tell you do this and it'll raise this much. And in the last 4 years, I think it was somewhere between 17 and 20% that we increased water and wastewater rates. Thank you.
Thank you. Skip Houston? Okay, thank you.
Thank the Lord.
Okay, any comments?
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Ramick.
You know, I continue to hear people saying we're spending $600,000 on a pumper truck, and we're doing this, we're doing that, but what the public doesn't see is what is cut out of the budget. And Mr. Burrow and I sat down yesterday and went over line by line of the budget. There are a lot of capital projects that we cut this year. There's a lot of equipment that we cut this year to get the budget down. So, you know, we as a city and Bill as a city manager, we're doing what we can to trim the budget as much as we possibly can to continue to operate the city with the services that the citizens demand. So we're not going out there and wildly spending money. We're watching what we spend, and we're doing our best to continue with the services that we provide. So thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Earlier, Director Ramick was reading off a list of cities in Arkansas and their various millage rates, and the fact that we're the only city that doesn't have a general fund millage levy. I just kind of want to get in those numbers a little more and look at 3 cities. There are 2 other cities that don't have a general fund property tax levy, Jonesboro and Jacksonville. But both of those, Jonesboro has a 0.5 mil police and fire fund millage levy. Jacksonville has a 1 mil levy. I would suggest the reason for that is that this pension problem is not just a Hot Springs problem. It is a statewide problem, but though for lot fee members. So, and when I look at the fact that those cities don't have general fund levies, but they still have police and fire pension funds, that's their way of dealing with it. And so I just want to make that point.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I would like to address the comments regarding the fire pension plan, lot fee in particular. The question was asked, how do you fund $28 million of unfunded liabilities if the money isn't there? At the origination of the lot fee fund, many Arkansas cities, as Director Williams just pointed out, were in significant trouble with their unfunded pension plans. So they consolidated the plans, and in fact, that insurance program or the pension fund pays those pensions, and we pay that back on an annual basis.
Yeah.
You're right. We don't have the $28 million, but in fact, we are paying it like we would a mortgage with a variable rate. So to believe that we are kicking this down the road, you know, there's an old cliche, if you feel like something isn't being addressed, you kick the can down the road. Well, I think the can got stopped being kicked for sure just before I got on the board. I think it was a couple years before I got on the board, because they signed up for a program of payment that puts this thing to rest over a long period of time. Again, the difficulty is by doing that, while I am very comfortable with that process, it also still takes away from the general fund ability to finance its other projects. So for the public to believe, one, that the money is not there is not true. This is a real liability. This isn't a make-believe liability that the city has because of some actuary. These are monies that have been paid and we owe them. So it's an obligation of the city. Third, if we just went out and raised the funds and set them aside, I don't think we would be in nearly as good a position if we passed a $28 million bond issue, for example, to retire those. You can't just go and retire them. You kind of set them aside. It's called defeasing. You set it aside and you hope that those funds earn as much money as the liabilities that were paid out. And in fact, for a pension plan, that almost never happens. So to go and do this otherwise, I think is a reckless spending of money. And I think the city board has made a good decision long ago, and they ought to stick with it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We talked a little about sales tax, and just so you know, I also have that information, and we're 4th or 5th lowest in the state for sales tax. Now, we have the additional 3% A&P tax. That's just for people going out to eat and people staying in hotels. The tourists who come here pay the bulk of that, and that's a very discretionary purchase. It's not the same as what you would pay at the grocery store or the drugstore. But the other thing is I just do want to go on record. The reason I amended one of these was not because I don't think we have the real need. We definitely have a need for some capital expenditures. I don't think this was the best way to go about it. I agree that it needs to go before the people and be voted on. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I won't repeat it, but I echo that same sentiment. I, as a citizen, want to be able to vote on these sorts of things.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, that's the same way voting on my raise.
You like to vote on your raise? All in favor, say aye. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to raise a tax just for. Okay. Everybody through? Any further discussion? Okay. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. Okay, the next item of business is to consider ordinance O-1548. First of all, entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
I have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please indicate by saying no. Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance O-1548, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of waterworks revenue bonds for the purpose of financing betterments and improvements to the city's waterworks system, providing for the payment of the principal and interest on the bonds, prescribing other matters related thereto, and declaring an emergency. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you'd now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And Ms. Doretha?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Several weeks ago, we came to you with a need and an opportunity. The need was from additional funds in the water fund for improvements for our filter system at Ouachita, and also some improvements at Lakeside, and some improvements related to distribution facilities. The opportunity was that we had an opportunity to go out and obtain some bank-qualified financing. We had already obtained a little bit over $1.9 million this year with our Amendment 78 debt, so that left us a little bit in excess of $8 million that we could obtain by the end of the year that was bank qualified. You guys authorized us to go forward and pursue this. We put together a good team. Our underwriters, Stevens and Raymond James, bond counsel from Friday Law Firm, and our financial advisor, Bob Wright from Cruz & Associates, and we all set about putting this bond issue together in a fairly small amount of time. We had the bond issue rated. We've got an A+ rating on that. We also were able to obtain a surety bond and insurance, which enhanced the credit quality and lowered our debt service reserve requirements. Today, the bonds were priced. We ended up pricing about $8,035,000, and the proceeds on that, after all the cost and different things that we have to pay, will lead us with about $7.8 million to put in our construction fund. I've given you an overview. I've got, like I said, all of the experts here if you guys have any specific questions. And what the matter before you tonight is to authorize us to go ahead and issue those bonds.
Okay. We have one person signed up, and then we'll come back to you if there's more questions. Mr. Pritchett.
I have no questions.
Well, thank you. Okay. Do we have questions from the directors?
I do have one question. Doretha, I noticed in the prospectus that the 2010 bond issue were subordinate to this issue. Have they been lowered in their have they been, I can't remember what you call it when they're the most favored nation, but they've been reduced to a subordinate process. Why is that?
The 2010 bond issue is the bonds that we have through Arkansas Development Finance Authority. And I believe that subordinate situation also existed with the 2014 that we had as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Everybody okay? Hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
It's
It
adopted.
is adopted.
Mayor, there is an emergency clause associated with this particular ordinance. It's Section 33. I'll read it in its entirety. It is hereby ascertained and declared that the improvements are immediately needed for the preservation of the public peace, health, and safety, and to remove existing hazards thereto. The improvements cannot be accomplished without the issuance of the bonds, which cannot be sold at the interest rate specified herein unless this ordinance is immediately effective. Therefore, it is declared that an emergency exists, and this ordinance, being necessary for the preservation of the public peace, health, and safety, shall be enforced and take effect immediately upon and after its passage. That concludes your reading of the emergency clause. Mayor, if you would, entertain a separate motion and second to adopt this emergency clause.
Do I have an
I move for the adoption of the emergency clause.
Okay,
I
and a
second the
second?
motion.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the emergency clause. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, it is adopted. All right. The next item of business is to consider ordinance O-1549. First of all, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, the council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance O-1549, an ordinance waiving the requirements of competitive bidding for the procurement of certain sole source wastewater system equipment, headworks components, approving sole source supplier instrument and supply Inc., and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. You've now entertained a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Just a second. Let me thank all of y'all for coming. Thanks for being here on a rainy night. Please be safe as you leave. Okay, thank you. Okay. We had a motion and a second to adopt. Is that where we got to? Okay. And Mr. Carnahan.
Thank you. We have an important operating part at the headworks of our wastewater plant that has to be replaced. And it costs $5,862.51. But we have to bring it to the board because we only have one supplier in Arkansas that carries this product. So it's a sole source. We're asking you to waive competitive bidding so that we can purchase this from the from Instrument Supply Company, who is the sole source authorized representative for this particular piece of equipment.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Carnahan? Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones. Carney.
Aye, it is adopted. The next item of business is to consider ordinance number O-1550. First of all, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please say no. Okay, council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance O-1550, an ordinance waiving the requirements of competitive bidding, awarding a contract to Fanning Construction Company, approving the cost sharing of a drainage project at 900 Higdon Ferry, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. If you're not entertaining a motion, second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And Mr. Carnahan again. Thank you.
Thank you. In conjunction with all the work on Higdon Ferry Road, I hope you like the progress on Higdon Ferry and Crawford and Emory intersection. There's a large box culvert underneath the highway there, and in the construction when the highway department uncovered all that, building the new culvert under the road, the old culvert that extended out beyond the highway right-of-way, another 90 feet, was, we discovered that it was basically built out of concrete blocks, and they were crumbling and falling apart, needed to be replaced. So we had $25,000 of funds that we had obtained in selling some property there, and we dedicated that to building, replacing that culvert with another new culvert like the one the highway department was building under the road, a larger reinforced concrete box culvert. But that culvert was going to cost $18,000 more than we had, and so we stopped. We just signed a contract to build the first 50 feet, which we had enough money to pay for, and that we would just leave it open from there forward, and not take it all the way to the creek like the original culvert had been. Adam Castile owns a business next door, and he has come to us, and he has offered to pay $10,000 of the $18,000 of additional cost if we would continue that culvert to the same place where the original culvert went to, at the edge of that creek, which is the head of Stokes Creek. So Denny McFate, Max Stilly, our Stormwater Public Works Department, looked, and they have $8,000 that they can use from our stormwater fund, and they feel like that this would be a real advantage to the city to go ahead and deal with this problem and put it back the way it was before, only improved, but all the way to the creek rather than leaving open an open ditch. That's a high maintenance problem in the future. Mr. Castile wants to do it because his property, he looks right over into that area. He has a nice salon there, and he is willing to invest that money to make it all look better and to get rid of the stormwater. Today, as you know, a lot of stormwater racing through there and eroding that area. So this concrete culvert is a much better, cleaner solution for the whole project. So we're asking the city to agree to accept this $10,000 from Mr. Castile, and to we'll use the other $8,000 from the stormwater fund to complete the project. Hope I said that right, Councilor. You were raising your hand. So
I was just curious if you would be able to drive and/or park on top of this concrete culvert.
Yes, it'll be level, graded. It'll look much nicer than having the open ditch.
So it'll give him more parking and additional access to his, other than Edwards Place.
Right.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
This project is located in my district. I've met with the owner of this property. I understand his need to do that and his willingness to provide $10,000 to cover this cost, and then I would simply ask that you support this recommendation.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Is there any way we can express our appreciation to him for the donation?
You may.
I'm talking about as a formal
Proclamation.
from the city board as a part of this.
Well, is it a donation or are we donating?
No, he actually purchased the property with us retaining an easement for these purposes, and now he's cost sharing on the project in such a way that benefits him because he's able to drive and/or park on top of this concrete.
It gives him another way in and out.
And additional parking.
Thank you.
And it is his property, except for the easement. Okay. Any other discussion? Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Carnahan.
Thank you all.
Hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. The next item of business is to consider resolution number R-15-190 through 207, which are condemnations of property. Council, would you please proceed?
I will, with your permission, Mayor, I'll give Mr. Scott a moment to get his.
Could some of us take a personal break?
Be a great time to do that.
Really fast. Okay, 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. The next item of business is to consider resolution number R-15-190 through 207, which are condemnations of property. Council, would you please proceed?
Mayor, your first item under 16 is 16A, Resolution R-15-190, a resolution condemning certain real property at 205 Bellevue. If you would, Mayor, please entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And
Mr. Scott.
Mr. Scott, yes, there you are.
My name is Mike Scott. I'm the Chief Building Official for the City of Hot Springs. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, board members. Tonight, we are recommending condemnation for 18 structures. Each of these structures is vacant. All owners have been notified by certified mail with return receipt, and the properties have been properly posted. Before any structure is brought to the board, many notices and site visits are performed to try to achieve compliance. Condemnation is the last resort. In the interest of time tonight, now that I have told you all of the structures are vacant and notices have been provided, what I will tell you for each individual item is simply the year enforcement started in my department. 205 Bellevue has a record of housing violations since 2003 and vacant structure violations since 2007.
Okay.
Mr. Scott, who is the owner of the property at 205 Bellevue?
205 Bellevue is Johnny Jackson.
Okay.
Mr. Jackson was in my office today.
So
and
Mr. Jackson has been served.
And he asked about, what it was going to happen tonight. Told him he was more than welcome to come.
Any questions from the members of the board?
Okay.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-15-190, a resolution condemning certain real property at 205 Bellevue Street? 205 Bellevue Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call the roll.
Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted.
Mayor, next agenda item is 16B, Resolution R-15-191, a resolution condemning certain real property at 116 Carson Street. If you would, please entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay.
116 Carson has a recorded housing violation since 2005 and vacant structure violation since February of 2014. The owner is Ramona Brown.
Okay, and she's been notified.
Yes.
Any questions of Mr. Scott?
Where's the picture of that one? Did you have it?
I'm sorry. I should have been doing that all along.
Oh, we went
You're on
blank.
12.
Okay, there you
He's
go.
12.
Let's go back.
Oh, which one?
That's 205 Bellevue there, the
Okay.
one that you've already voted on.
Okay.
This
And
one
that's
here
Carson.
is 116 Carson,
Okay.
back right there.
All right. Okay.
Any questions from the board? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-15-191, a resolution condemning certain real property at 116 Carson Street? 116 Carson Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call the roll.
Would you please call the roll?
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted.
Mayor, next item is 16C, Resolution R-15-192, a resolution condemning certain real property at 304 Dell Street. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion.
Do I
So
have-
moved.
Okay, and a
Second.
second? Okay.
304 Dell Street has a recorded housing and vacant structure violation since 2011. The owner is George Schroeder, but it's my understanding that he has sold it in the last 2 weeks or so. The new owner has been notified. He's been in my office. I've talked to him, met him on site. This is 304 Dell. This is the backside of 304 Dell.
Oh, my goodness.
Not there.
Is he obtaining a permit to?
Yes, he
to
has.
rehab?
He has obtained a permit and is working on it.
Okay.
Problems in the past have been when these have sold and people have obtained permit on them.
Right.
They don't work on them or they leave them in this state.
So you would ask from the board that they still approve the condemnation in the event that the permit is not acted upon?
Yes, sir. That way, if he stops construction, we do have a backup plan.
Okay.
His truck was there this morning.
Yeah, I've been going by checking on him. He's a pretty nice young man, and he is working hard.
It's a mess.
But this is what it looked like just a couple of days ago.
But structurally, you've looked at, is it structurally?
I would not walk in that house, man.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, look at the foundation.
If you'll look at the boards on the back that are holding up the back of the house, how they're bowed.
Yeah.
Oh, my
And how
goodness.
few he has. I've asked him several times, please don't work up here by yourself. I'm afraid I'm going to walk up here and find you underneath it somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
he assured me he's being careful, so.
Should we hook him up with Habitat? Just clean it off and put a new one there.
I think he has a couple of rental houses, so he,
Okay.
Any further
Alrighty.
discussion from the board or questions?
I need to get this guy's name if he's buying property like this.
Anyone here to speak in,
We can help you out on that, Mr. Ramick. It might be a conflict of interest. Okay. Hearing
Wow.
none, hearing
Wow.
no further discussion, please call the roll. Yeah,
No.
no, not yet.
anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-15-192, a resolution condemning certain real property at 304 Dell Street? 304 Dell Street. Hearing none, Mayor, please call the roll.
Please call the roll.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Ramick,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted.
Mayor, your next item on the agenda is 16D, Resolution R-15-193, a resolution condemning certain real property at 315 Gaines Street. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Okay.
315 Gaines has recorded a vacant structure violation since 2006. If you'll look at the picture, it's missing a roof. The back's falling in. Oh, no,
Wrong one.
let me go back. There.
How come it's gone this long without something being done?
We've worked with the owner in the past. He no longer owns it. He decided he hadn't paid the taxes in like 4 years. The state now owns that.
Was he notified nonetheless?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been in my office also. We gave him several options,
Did it sell at the tax sale, or is it still there waiting for redemption?
The state still owns it, hadn't sold yet.
Okay.
And how does that work?
You have a right to redeem. If he doesn't redeem, then they'll sell it at a tax sale.
Okay. But we don't tear it down?
We'll have a lien on it.
Okay.
We have a lien on it then?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none?
Anyone
Yeah.
here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-15-193, a resolution condemning certain real property at 315 Gaines Street? 315 Gaines Street. Hearing none, Mayor, please call the roll.
Please call the roll.
Ramick,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
And Mayor, Mayor and Board, I apologize for being so regimented on this, but there's a case out there called Pfeiffer versus the City of Hot Springs. And it was in the 8th Circuit, and we got dinged. We're not going to get dinged again, okay?
Okay.
The next item is 16E, Resolution R-15-194, a resolution condemning certain real property at 318 Garland Street. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion? to-
I so move.
And a second.
Second.
Motion and a second.
318 Garland has record of housing and vacant structure violations since 2002. It's owned by William Watkins. Mr. Watkins was in my office yesterday. We discussed these two properties. He said he's just been using them for storage all these years. So,
Does he have any plans to fix them up?
he said he would like to tear down 318 Gaines tomorrow if he had the money. He said, and a place to store his stuff. He said, because it is in pretty bad shape. The pictures really don't do it justice. If you looked at it, it's leaning. It looks like the wind. It was one of them right there. I tried to show a picture of it.
Yeah, I see.
The wind may have caught it today. I don't know. I didn't drive by this afternoon.
But there's no power or
No, sir.
utilities to the
No,
property?
sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-15-194, a resolution condemning certain real property at 318 Garland? 318 Garland. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call the roll.
Okay. Would you call the roll?
Yes. Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones, Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Ramick,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted.
Next item is 16F, Resolution R-15-195, a resolution condemning certain real property at 320 Garland Street. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second? Motion and a second, okay.
320 Garland, record of housing violations since 2002 and vacant structure since 2006. This is also owned by Mr. Watkins.
And he's received proper notice.
Yes, he was in my office yesterday just to ask what was going to happen, and, I told him he was more than welcome to come to the board meeting if he so pleased.
Any questions or comments?
How long does he have to get his stuff out of there, Mike?
Well, I mean, he has 30 days to appeal it, and it's just like I told him. I said, sir, I'm not going to tear your house down when you have your stuff in there. I said, you tell me what you need. And he said, well, I'd probably need 60 to 90 days. And to be honest with you, by the time I put them out for bid, I have 18 houses. They're not all going to get tore down on day 31. I'd be glad to work with him.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-15-195, a resolution condemning certain real property at 320 Garland? 320 Garland. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call the roll.
Okay, please call the roll.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted.
Mayor, your next item is 16G, Resolution R-15-196, a resolution condemning certain real property at 101 Jones Street. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second.
101 Jones has recorded housing violations since 2006 and vacant structure violations since 2011. It is owned by Miguel Castello.
And they're here? Okay. Do they want to speak? Do they speak English?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
she does.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
good.
They've been
Okay.
in the office.
Yes, will you translate for me, please?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Miguel.
La casa es de mi hijo. La compramos y la estamos arreglando. Nada más que él está estudiando y ahorita no hemos podido. Ya le pusimos arriba el techo, se lo cambiamos nuevo el año pasado.
Okay, okay.
The house is his son's, my brother's. He is right now in college, but they were thinking to fix it. They've been trying to fix the inside before fixing the outside. They have put like in the ceiling from the inside. They were trying to slowly fix it. So that's what they've done so far.
Okay.
Okay. Ahorita lo que queremos hacer es cambiarle todo lo de afuera, ponerle el siding, ponerle afuera, cambiarle todo.
Right now, what they want to do is fix the outside, the siding from the outside, and start fixing that.
Does it, ahí tenía electricidad y agua y todo conectado?
No.
Okay.
No.
Doesn't have utilities.
Yeah, no utilities yet. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. How long does he think it's going to take him to do that?
That's the question I was going to ask.
He's owned the property for 4 years.
Okay, how long has he been working on it? 4 years?
He had a permit at one time. The permit has expired due to lack of activity. He currently does not have a permit on it.
Okay.
Is this structurally sound?
I believe it is. I don't believe it's fallen down. Now, there's some foundation missing if you look down the right side of it. Houses of this age usually were put together with a couple of rocks ever so often and set on it. So the foundation on it is limited, but I'm not scared of this one falling down.
If we condemn this, what kind of working opportunity does he have to continue progress on this?
He can come to my office and get a permit, and then a permit's good for 6 months, but again, we got to be careful because he's owned this one for 4 years, and very little work has been done on it. Just to the right of this, the gentleman has probably spent over $100,000 on his house. It looks very nice, by far the nicest house on Jones Street. has done a ton of work, and he lives next door to this.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, she would like to say something else.
Street.
2 years? Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Okay. Who was the, did you talk to the previous, previous owner?
It was the Garganos.
Okay.
Yeah, they bought it
Okay.
in December of 2012.
2012.
The record right here, the title
Okay.
search.
You bought it from the Garganos?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we, are they in opposition of the resolution to condemn?
Yes, sir, I believe they are. I believe they
Mm-hmm.
want to continue working on it.
Well, would they be able to continue working on it if they pulled a permit, even if the board were to condemn it?
I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
The outside color, is that paint?
I think some of it is burnt.
That's what it looks like.
And then, some of it, so it's kind of hard to tell what color it is. It's a little bit of
Okay.
black, a little bit of pink.
But paint could make a huge difference with the outside?
But the wood would have to be replaced before you would paint it.
Okay. What?
Any more
Could we-
discussion?
I'd like to table this one. I'm not sure what the best time frame would be, and give an opportunity to pull a permit and make some progress and look at it again. Is that possible?
But can I help you craft that?
Yeah,
If you were to,
please.
if you were to table that for 90 days and bring it back to the board in 90 days, if they have not made some meaningful progress
Okay.
toward the rehab of the property, then the board would go forward with the condemnation.
I'd like to table for 60 days.
60?
Is that enough?
What did you say?
I want 90, please.
Okay.
And
I'll second Director Clark's motion.
Thank you.
Can I speak? I'm fine with the 90 days. I've probably got about 4 more that I'm getting back from the attorney, so I'll just compile those with that one when I bring it back, if I do.
ask them if they have people to help them with the house, or is it just him alone?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. They got a motion and a second to
Second.
table.
Yes.
Is there-
Motion and second to table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. It is tabled for 90 days.
Oh, she understands.
Mayor, next agenda item is 16H, Resolution R-15-197, a resolution condemning certain real property at 126 Linwood Avenue. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion? And a second?
Second.
Okay.
It's a cute little bungalow.
126 Linwood has recorded vacant structure violations since January of 2015. This house has foundation problems. Picture doesn't do it justice. It's blowing out on the right side there. The house, the floor's been unlevel, falling in. Nobody's lived there. It'll be a year soon, and she's been in my office, and she's in favor of tearing it down. She just doesn't have the money.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from the board?
That's Miss Kathy Roundtree. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-15-197, a resolution condemning certain real property at 126 Linwood Avenue? 126 Linwood Avenue. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the roll.
Please call the roll.
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted.
Next item, Mayor, is 16I, resolution number R-15-198, a resolution condemning certain real property at 104 Martha Lane. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
This one be real easy. I drove by today. It's down on the ground.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the owner took it down.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion? In a second?
I don't know what y'all need to
I didn't hear the second.
Second.
Second, okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Okay.
That's not it. That's
We don't have to do anything with that
It's already
since it's down?
Yeah, we won't even file a lien, right?
Okay.
No.
16J, a resolution R-15-199, a resolution condemning certain real property at 106 Martha Lane. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
A motion to adopt?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Okay.
106, the same thing, the owner had taken it down.
Show us the picture so we'll know
I'm
what's not there.
That's it. I don't see it.
Oh,
This
that
was-
one's down?
This was 104. This was 106. They've been vacant for years, a fire in both of these at one
Where's that,
time.
Mike?
Martha?
It's on Golf Links Road, right next to Oaklawn's administrative building.
Oh,
There's,
okay.
there's about a
Okay.
5 or 6 acre parcel there. If you look, it has a
Is that in
large-
Justice Follies District?
It has a,
No, I believe
It's right on,
Or director, anyway.
right on,
Randy.
it's right on Golf Links, right? Or
yes, ma'am.
So that
There's
Martha
two houses
Lane-
on Golf Links, and there's these 3 behind
behind
it.
it?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm the one.
Okay, so the one on Golf Links is still there?
Yes, the 2 on Golf Links are owned
He
by
was
the same
sitting there.
people.
Yeah, I spoke with him.
Is one of those coming down,
Coming
that
down.
white one?
The owners have pulled permits for these 3, and like I said, 2 of them are down.
Mm-hmm.
108 is not down. The 2 on the front, they said that they would take those down next.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
have a vote, yeah.
for the ones that are down, we have to do that.
For 106.
106. Okay. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. It is adopted.
Okay. 16K is Resolution R-15-200, a resolution condemning certain real property at 108 Martha Lane. If you would entertain a motion to second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
So moved.
A motion and a second.
Second.
108 Martha Lane has had recorded violations, structure on vacant violations since 2006. The owner is Martha and Joel Christopher Cobble. Same owners of 104 and 106. They do have a demo permit on this one, but they have not started it.
Okay.
Any questions from the board? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-15-200, a resolution condemning certain real property at 108 Martha Lane? 108 Martha Lane. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the roll.
Would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Ramick.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Mayor,
It is
next
adopted.
item is 16L, Resolution R-15-201, a resolution condemning certain real property at 115 Moat Street. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
A motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
115 Moat Street has recorded a vacant structure violation since 2013. This is the backside.
Mike, who's the owner of that property?
The owner of this one is Joel Buck.
And he's received notice?
Yes, and Mr. Buck was in my office about 4 o'clock today.
What are his intentions?
He would like to rebuild it, and I told him, I said, well, the first thing to do would be to get a building permit, and he left my office without a building permit.
Oh.
So he's not
Okay.
gonna do nothing.
But he said he may be back tomorrow.
Any questions from the board? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-15-201, a resolution condemning certain real property at 115 Moat Street? 115 Moat Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the roll.
Would you please call the roll?
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Next item is 16M, Resolution R-15-202, a resolution condemning certain real property at 307 Omega Street. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
So moved.
And a second. Okay.
I had to get that right. This one has many owners.
Okay. Another picture.
Many lien holders, let's put it that way.
No picture.
307 Omega has recorded vacant structure violations since 2011. That's the front porch you see on the ground.
Ooh.
This is owned by Columbus Osby Jr.
Dead.
Did you say that there were multiple lien holders?
Yeah, and they've all rescinded their lien. They've told me that they've canceled them out because they realize they're not going to get their money. We've notified every one of those, that's why.
Where is Omega
Stack
Street?
of green cards from each of the lien holders. I have 2
park.
green cards.
Which park?
Chattanooga.
Chattanooga Park, okay.
Okay.
Any questions from the board? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-15-202, a resolution condemning certain real property at 307 Omega Street? 307 Omega Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the roll.
Would you please call the roll?
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted.
Next item is 16N, a resolution, R-15203, a resolution condemning certain real property at 300 Portland. If you would, entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
So moved.
Second.
300 Portland has recorded housing violations since 2002. It's owned by a lady named Miss Floretta Grant, and she is here tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Grant, would you like to come forward, please?
I don't have, when I bought the house, I was working. I'm retired now, so I'm on a fixed income, so I'm gonna leave it to y'all to tell me what I can do with it. I don't have the money.
Well, you have the ability to get a permit to rehab the property, but are you saying you're just not able financially to do a rehab right now? Okay. If there were some other avenue for you to get assistance, whether it be through Habitat or CDBG, the planning office downtown downstairs might be able to help you with that.
Yeah.
But I think what Mr. Scott would like to do tonight is get the board's authority to go ahead and have the ability to demo the building if there's not some viable avenue that opens up for you.
Okay.
And where do you live? You don't live there, right?
No, I live at 145 Murray Street.
Is that a permanent residence for you?
Well, Bud helping me through that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You don't plan to live in this
No.
or try to fix it either?
No, when I bought it, I was working.
Mhm.
So I ain't got too old now. I'm 67. So I can't, I'm on fixed income.
It's probably be tore down.
Have you ever lived in the house?
Yeah, 2 years.
Okay.
Okay. But you do have a permanent place to stay if this goes away?
I had started on getting the house built, getting something done to it, but code people came out and stopped me and told me I couldn't just do it. No, it was too dangerous.
Okay.
So they had to stop up under the house.
Okay.
Have you tried to sell it?
Not leaking, the roof is not leaking at all.
Mm.
I got my storage in it.
Have you tried to sell it?
Yeah, but it don't seem like nobody want to buy it.
Okay.
He'll give you time to get your stuff out of there.
Yeah, but y'all tear it down, or can I have somebody tear it down?
You can have it demoed yourself. You'll have to get a permit from Mr. Scott, and if
You don't have the money.
if you're able to do that prior to him getting to it, then yeah, you can do that.
Okay, if y'all tear it down, how much would it cost me?
Mr. Scott will give us an estimate on that.
Some of these houses tonight, they do qualify for CDBG, the forgivable loan program that you all had approved a few months ago. I've been talking with Ms. Grant, and I believe that she will qualify.
Okay.
So,
So you'll see to that, check into that and move forward with it if
Yes, ma'am.
that works with you? Okay.
Okay.
Good.
yeah, I'm discussing that with her.
Okay.
She told me today the porch has fallen a little
Yeah.
bit more than
Okay.
that. So.
You don't want to get hurt over there, so
No,
you can get
I got a
some,
lot of
do you have some
stuff
help to get your belongings out of there?
GCB.
Well,
Oh, no, that's scary.
I'm hoping my sister and
Oh,
brother
my.
come over, but they live
Is
in
that
Little
it?
Rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the
I don't
time,
know
people
nobody
don't want
Yeah,
that
we need to.
stuff.
So, Ms. Grant, are you opposed to the board going forward with their condemnation tonight? And, at some point, you can get with Mr. Scott, and if you can get things taken care of before he's ready to tear it down, then so be it. But if not, he's going to take it down.
Okay.
Is that all right?
It's high off the ground.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Any other questions on
discussions or
this?
comments?
Okay, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
It's approved.
It is adopted.
Your next item is 16O, Resolution R-15204, a resolution condemning certain real property at 105 Texas Street. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
When this
And
happened?
Mr. Scott.
105 Texas, as you can see, is burnt. We had to emergency tear it down because when the fire department was through, Chief was concerned with it falling in. So we had it torn down already. This is what it looks like today.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
It's a beautiful lot.
Yes.
So this is
It's owned by Kimberly Loy.
and she's been notified?
Yes, sir. She's come in my office and talked to me. She is trying to sell the property.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it may not ever sell because of past liens on it.
Okay.
Other than ours even, so.
Well, this is a condemnation after the fact, which we need to go ahead and go through the process since that was an you're going to be certifying those emergency actions that we're taking.
Where is Texas Street located?
Spring.
Off of Spring
Yes,
Street,
ma'am.
yeah. Okay.
All the state streets are over there.
Any other discussion?
Anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-15204, a resolution condemning certain real property at 105 Texas Street? 105 Texas Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the roll.
Call the roll, please.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Ramick,
Aye.
Foley,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
It's approved.
It is adopted.
Next item is 16P, Resolution R-15205, a resolution condemning certain real property at 206 Texas Street. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
206 Texas Street has had housing and vacant structure violations since it burned in 2014. It was owned by a previous owner when I started this action. Now it is owned by Mr. White. I talked with Mr. White today. He provided me with a demo contract from Irvin Slate, so it is on Irvin's docket to do it, but Irvin is quite busy right now, as y'all have seen around town, because he will be taking down the old Howard Johnson's, and this project is after that one.
Great.
So just by condemning it tonight, it just ensures that we do get it down, even if he doesn't do it.
Okay.
Those two on the same street that burned, did you show me those when we were driving around?
Yes, ma'am. I
Okay,
did, sure
gotcha.
did.
Any other questions or comments? Anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-15205, a resolution condemning certain real property at 206 Texas Street?
Get a tall ladder
206
to get
Texas
there.
Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the roll.
Would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Ramick,
Aye.
Foley,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted.
Next item is 16Q, Resolution R-15206, a resolution condemning certain real property at 201 Tupper. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Here we go.
201 Tupper has had housing violations since 2001 and vacant structures since 2013. You all had condemned this house a few years back. The owner turned around and sold it. The new owner took it, hasn't done anything on it, gave her all the letters, gave her all the notification. She gave it back to the person she bought it off of, who originally y'all had condemned it. They came in my office today and don't want me to tear it down, but they're not here. I hadn't seen them.
What's their name?
I don't know if I have their name because
Oh,
it was
that's
a
okay.
contractor actually came in on her behalf and asked what he could do to save the house, that he wanted to maybe pull a permit on it and get to work on it.
Oh, wow. Do you have another picture of that, too?
Did he leave your office with a permit?
No, sir.
Okay.
Well,
Anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-15206, a resolution condemning certain real property at 201 Tupper? 201 Tupper. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the roll.
Okay.
Foley,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Ramick,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted.
Your last condemnation for the evening, Mayor, is 16R, Resolution R-15207, a resolution condemning certain real property at 209 Washington Street. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
We have a motion.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Okay.
209 Washington Street has had recorded a vacant structure violation since 2011, and it is owned by Virginia and Daniel Farmer.
I don't know that.
Got some good TV.
Shotgun house, like, the shotgun
Radio
house.
Europe.
Can we
Back in the
salvage?
day, y'all don't know nothing about that.
Any questions or comments of the board?
Yeah, can
Anyone-
you salvage those antennas?
No, sir, as a city employee, I can't salvage any of the material.
Aw, but you
Good
can,
answer.
Rick. You can go.
Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-15-207, a resolution condemning certain real property at 209 Washington Street? 209 Washington Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the roll.
That's off Runyon.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Ramick,
Aye.
Foley,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. Okay.
The average violations on these homes is over 7 years. That's, I just added them all up and divided by the total number of years, 7 years it takes us to get at these properties. That's,
It's too long.
yeah,
And some more. Okay.
We're working on that.
Where are we?
I know you
Thank
are.
you
Nice
so
job,
much.
Mike, thank you.
Yeah.
Always enjoy
Thank
the
you, Mike.
tour of homes. Okay, that concludes tonight's meeting. Are there any comments from the members of the board?
I have a brief comment, Mayor.
Please.
We talked a lot about millage levies tonight. On November 30th, the county will levy the school, city, community college, library levies for next year. It was noted from some people they moved here because of the low property taxes. Neither the city or county has a general fund property tax levy. Now, here's the caveat that I
County
want
does
to come
now.
back to. Okay? All right. Prior to the passage of Amendment 61, every 2 years, the voters had to approve the county road tax, which the cities were entitled to a percentage of that road tax based on, it was half of whatever, of the assessed value. So most recently, the road millage has been 1.2 mils. We were entitled to 6/10 of that millage within the city. So going back to my time as county judge, when we were so desperate to get money into the general fund, and knowing that we had plenty of money in the road fund, I proposed that we transfer 2/10 of a mil from road to general. But in so doing, I realized that would hurt the city of Hot Springs. So for 2 years, I had an agreement with the city of Hot Springs that if they would agree to that, we would do an offsetting amount of road work. That's how desperate we were to get, some millage into our general fund, just 2/10 at that time. Then in last year, based on the county judge's recommendation, because there was a proposed bill floated that was going to give the cities all of their road millage within the cities, he made a proposal that be to counter that they not levy the road millage, instead put that millage over in the general fund, which cut us out of $350,000. This year, there's no similar legislation out there. But the recommendation is going to be to once again levy 1.2 mils, not for road, but for general. And then what I think is very disingenuous, they're going to take the money they put over in general and move it back to roads and leave a small part of it in general. So there's not anything I know that we can do to prevent that. I just want to go on record, though, as thinking that I don't think it's fair and it's disingenuous to do it that way, because originally it was a road millage levy, not a general fund levy, and the money is still being used for roads. And another point I would make is although the Hot Springs and Garland County don't have let me go back. Hot Springs doesn't have a millage levy. Some of our smaller cities like Mountain Pine and Lonsdale, they actually do levy mills for the support of their governments. They're not very big, but the last time I checked, Mountain Pine levied the full 5 mills. And I don't remember what Lonsdale's was. I don't know about Fountain Lake. So just a couple points I wanted to make. But I don't know why the good government group is not up here in arms about the fact that the city is going to lose $350,000 in road tax, and there's not anything we can do about it because the Quorum Court has the full authority to do just that. So, anyway.
No solution?
Okay.
Not unless we have some sympathetic members to the Quorum Court.
Is that voted on by the people, or is that
No.
through the Quorum Court?
They have Amendment 61 changed it so that instead of the voters approving the road tax every 2 years, even though it was an ongoing maintenance tax, Amendment 61 gives the Quorum Court the authority to levy that millage just like they do the general fund millage. Just like we have the ability to levy the general and police and fire pension fund millages without a vote of the people. So, anyway, I just want to say that.
Did anybody complain at Quorum Court that that just wasn't right?
I
That
think
they
some
chose
voted
to
against
do
it
that?
last year. I think because it will, those Quorum Court
One
members who are
vote.
elected within the city.
There was one vote against it.
Yeah, there was one, yeah. So, but those Quorum Court members represent the city.
Yeah.
If they should ever call any of us about lack of street work being done, going to pay close attention to how they vote.
I reminded them of it last night at Park Avenue Community Association meeting, and my JP was sitting right behind me. He didn't say a word because he voted for it.
Okay, well.
Okay.
And Thomas
Any
just
other-
got reelected.
Any other comments? Anybody?
J.P. Thomas.
This was a good discussion on the taxes.
I make a motion, we adjourn, go home.
Yes, that sounds great. Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a
I
second?
didn't even
Second.
hear that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please
That's
indicate by
why
saying
everybody
aye.
looking at me.
Aye.
Any
Grab the
opposed,
gavel.
I just
no.
hope that we have power when we go home.
And
Enough
we
juice.
didn't have anyone signed up for the meeting. Okay, that's wonderful. Go home and rest well.
Charged up there.
Cause no power?